They're in recess right now to move forward with a trial and conviction.
Nora, he announced today that despite the Democrats' wishes, he is not going to bring the Senate back early for a trial. The Senate is in recess right now. The House was supposed to be in recess this week, too, until this impeachment issue came up so suddenly. And so his decision not to bring the Senate back means that we will not see this Senate trial begin until perhaps the day that President-elect Biden is being sworn in. It's unclear at this point whether the trial would begin the day before the inauguration, on the inauguration, one day after the inauguration. We are really in uncharted waters here. Also unclear at this point is which party will control the Senate chamber when this trial gets underway. Because as you know, there have been those two Democratic victories in the state of Georgia, two senators yet to be sworn in. When that happens, control of the Senate will change hands from Republicans to Democrats. But right now, the state of Georgia has not yet certified those victories. Until it does, they can't be sworn in. So a lot is still in flux here. But one thing we do know now, Nora, is that Democrats do want to move this along to the Senate as quickly as they possibly can. In fact, last night, Speaker Pelosi named her 9 House impeachment managers. You'll recall from the last impeachment, these are the lawmakers who essentially serve as the prosecutors. When this goes to trial in the Senate, they will try the case. And the fact that she named them so quickly really indicates that she doesn't want to let any grass grow under her feet. She is going to send this one article of impeachment for incitement of insurrection to the Senate for a trial very swiftly.
Nancy Cortez, thank you. The headline at this hour: a majority of the House of Representatives has voted to impeach President Trump, including 10 Republicans, in a rebuke of the leader of their own party. As soon as the gavel falls, it will be official. A remarkable moment. And that's what's happening inside the Capitol, outside the Capitol. It's not only under unprecedented security, but also our nation's capital is practically impenetrable. You can't even drive through the streets of the District of Columbia. There are so many law enforcement officials and personnel on the streets. And for that, let's bring in CBS News Chief Justice and Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues. Jeff, I know you've been speaking with your sources, including about a new FBI bulletin. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I love the way you describe the environment here, Nora, because that's exactly how it feels. I've been calling this over the last couple of hours Fort Capitol Hill, because you have National Guard all over this place, and you know what? They're armed. So in addition to local police, you have the Secret Service, you have National Guard, you have these huge trucks blocking streets. So yeah, this is not an area that you want to come down and see. In fact, they're discouraging people from coming down to the Capitol area and coming to downtown Washington, D.C. And that is a good thing, because they want to keep this area clear because of the threat environment that we're seeing. You referenced this FBI bulletin that talks about some of the caches of weapons that they've found in some of the homes of people that they've searched in connection with the Capitol attack a week ago. And what they're seeing online is this continued disturbing threat stream of people who are advocating for violence in the Capitol area leading up to the inauguration. And so that's what we're facing here. And that's why you're seeing this large number, Nora, of National Guards members, National Guard members. And the numbers are increasing. At first, we were told there'd be about 10, 15,000. Now the number is going up to 20,000. And again, it's a result of this threat analysis that we're hearing from law enforcement officials.
Jeff, noting that the National Guard is now planning to bring 20,000 troops to Washington. That's an increase of some 5,000. There are now more U.S. troops deployed to Capitol Hill than in Iraq or Afghanistan. In fact, it's in the multiples of the total numbers of troops deployed in those two countries. And also what we saw, you know, the military does not make this decision lightly. to bring in the National Guard. And what they really don't make the decision lightly is to arm them. And what we saw are National Guard soldiers, which you have maybe if you've ever been in a hurricane or a terrible natural disaster, the National Guard is usually there to help. They are usually not heavily armed police force. That's not what they do. This is not my own opinion. This is based on all the conversations I've had with officials over the last couple of days. So to see Fort Capitol Hill, as Jeff Pegues just called it this morning, arming all these National Guard soldiers was quite remarkable. To see them sleeping in the halls of the Capitol last night with their guns, also quite a moment to just say what the threat picture is right now. Many of them staying the night, and they're, of course, trying to keep our nation's capital safe. And we should just note now, if you can see the House floor now, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has taken the chair there. So let's go back to our own Nancy Cordes to describe what's next. Nancy?
Well, Nora, at this point, we're just waiting for 5 remaining House members to cast their votes. We're not sure what's taking them so long. Obviously, some House members these days are voting by proxy. They are not here in Washington because of the pandemic. They ask some of their fellow members to go up and vote on their behalf. And so these votes, which typically take 15 minutes, can stretch out to an hour because it takes so much longer to achieve the same thing that you could normally do in person quite quickly. But, you know, Nora, what happens next is Speaker Pelosi will obviously announce that the President of the United States has been impeached. She may hold a ceremony with her House impeachment managers later today, and then all eyes turn to the Senate, where 50 Democrats would need 17 Republicans to convict this president, not just impeach him, but convict him, which means that he could be removed from office if he's still in office at that point, which he likely won't be, and then to ensure that he can never run again for president. And so that is really an open question. There's 50 Republican senators. 17 of them is a heavy lift when you're looking here at the House of Representatives, where you had 10 vote yes, 197 vote no. So the overwhelming majority voted no. Doesn't mean we'll see the exact same results in the Senate. Often we see Senate Republicans split from their more fiery House counterparts, but it is still a tall order. I think it'll make a big difference where the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, comes down at the end of the day. I know from speaking to people who were in the room with him last Wednesday, as the Capitol was under attack, that he was furious, both that his beloved institution was coming under attack, all the destruction, all the devastation, the deaths of Capitol police officers who guard him and the other members of Congress every day, but also he was furious at the president for inciting this, not just with his words at that rally Wednesday morning, just before this invasion, but the things he's been saying for the last couple of months, denying that he lost, claiming he won in a landslide, claiming there was somehow massive fraud and that the election was rigged, which contributed to his supporters getting very angry, feeling like this election was stolen.
Let's listen now to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. She is trying to bring the House to order. Of course, the House floor much larger because there are 435. There's 100 members of the Senate. They all gathered together for that joint session, or for most of them when there is a State of the Union address. So it's much larger than the Senate floor, for instance. And what was, of course, described as the scene of the crime, the U.S. Capitol, by the Department of Justice just yesterday. Many of the members very scared by what happened last week, and to this day are scared about traveling back to the Capitol, as there are still numerous threats out there to some of their lives. And let me ask you about the political repercussions of this, Ed. Are there a number of Republican senators who may ultimately choose to convict the president, to sort of slam the door shut on the Trump era? We don't know yet.
If you look at the ones who have publicly stated an openness to this process.
On this vote, the ayes are 232. The nays are 197. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations.
And as the gavel has fallen and the Speaker of the House announces the tally, President Trump becomes the only American president to be impeached twice, and twice in just 13 months. That is after only seeing impeachment twice in the century before.
The chair announces that pursuant to Section 3A of House Resolution 41, the House Resolution 40 is hereby adopted.
And their procedural matters continue in the House of Representatives. But I think we ought to just pause just for a moment about the historical significance of what we've just witnessed, Ed.
I mean, what I've been dwelling on all day is it literally requires you writing textbooks. Because we've had, there was Andrew Johnson, there was Bill Clinton, there was Donald Trump. So you had 3 presidents who'd been impeached, 1 who'd resigned. But now you have to add this whole new section, a president who's been impeached twice. And it's just, incredible to now place him in that terrible and disgraceful category alone as a commander-in-chief who's faced this now twice.
Well, they may not want to start reprinting the history books just yet because it's not clear, as we were just talking about, what the Senate may do.
Yes, exactly. And so you're right. They'll have to wait for that, of course. But, either way, he has crossed this threshold now twice. And to do it in 13 months and to do it in less than a week or exactly a week since this insurrection at the Capitol. It shows you how quickly, how infuriated they were, how scared they remain, how concerned they are. And again, we heard it over and over again today from members. If this isn't impeachable, then what on earth could possibly be for a president?
We should bring in CBS's Ben Tracy, who is at the White House. And Ben, you've covered this president. He cares about history. He does care what people think about him. This has got to be a devastating blow to his psyche, and he must know the weight of this in terms of his legacy.
Yeah, we're told by sources here at the White House, Nora, that the president has been watching all of this unfold on television all day long, mostly from his private office just off of the Oval Office in the West Wing, and also his dining room here at the White House as well. We are told we will hear from the president, that he is going to record some sort of video message that will come out by the end of the day, responding to this in some fashion. I should say, however, though, here at the White House, the reaction to this has been pretty muted because they very much expected this to happen. In fact, a senior administration official told me they were expecting 8 to 13 Republican defections, and I think the latest number we saw on the screen there was 10. So they had a good sense of how this was going to go down today. I'm told there was not much of a lobbying effort from the White House to lawmakers on Capitol Hill, that they knew this was going to kind of turn out the way it has turned out. And now they are looking forward to this trial in the Senate. And I'm told that as of today, here at the White House, they are confident that there are not the votes in the Senate to convict the president. So they feel good about that. But we should underscore just how different this day is today from the day when President Trump was impeached just about a year ago. He held a rally in Battle Creek, Michigan, where he bragged about the fact that all the Republicans stuck with him, that everybody voted against impeachment. That is not happening today. We have not seen the president. He has been behind the walls here of the White House. Not a single aide has come out to defend him. And there are very few people left in this building. And I can tell you that having just walked through the West Wing in the last hour, the very few people who are still here are currently packing up boxes in their offices. Nora.
As there is just 1 week left before Joe Biden's inauguration. And Ben, why the taped messages that we've seen from the president? I mean, this is a president who loves to stop at the cameras when he's, boarding Air Force One or Marine One. Why have there been these carefully packaged taped messages sent out?
Certainly the president wants to control the message. He has not seemed to want to have any sort of give and take with reporters in recent days. We did see him yesterday on his way to Texas. He stopped twice to talk to reporters, but he took no questions. He simply made brief comments and then got on the plane or left here from the White House. So they're trying to control this as much as they can. And I think that's a way for the president to say whatever he wants to say without all of us pesky reporters here asking the questions that we certainly want answers to. The president did put out a statement earlier today as all of this was happening, as the debate was happening on Capitol Hill, saying that there must be no violence, no law breaking, no vandalism of any kind, saying that is not what he stands for. What this statement does not say today is that it was the president himself last Wednesday who was telling his supporters to fight like hell before they went to the Capitol and did what they did, and that is part of why he is being impeached today. So the president now trying to put the genie back in the bottle on the violence front. But there is a feeling here at the White House, Nora, that they are simply trying to get through the next 6.5 days until this administration is over.
Ben Tracy, thank you. Ed?
Ben aptly reminds us that rally was in Battle Creek, Michigan last year on the day of the impeachment. Today, the congressman from Battle Creek, Michigan, who's a Republican, serving in just his first full week in Congress, voted for impeachment, one of only 10 House Republicans to do so. So shows you again how the politics have changed here, that even from that part of Michigan, the congressman felt compelled to vote against his president.
It's an excellent point. And Nancy Cordes, the backdrop too of corporate America, sending the message that they are withholding contributions. How much has that influenced what we saw on Capitol Hill today?
Well, it is certainly weighing on Republican members, some of whom talked about it today on the House floor, who argued that they felt that they were being silenced for their views. But there is no question that there is a concern that a growing list of big name companies from Hallmark to American Express are basically wrapping a lot of these lawmakers on the knuckles, those who, and it was more than half of all House Republicans, who voted to contest the results of the November elections, even as they stood by the results of their own elections. Now, that clearly didn't scare Republicans enough to lead them to vote en masse for impeachment today. No company has suggested that anyone who votes against impeachment is going to lose that funding. But the big question for a lot of Republicans right now is these pauses that we've seen from so many companies in giving. Remember, they haven't cut off the funding entirely. They're just saying they're pausing it for now. So the big question is, how long is that pause going to last? If it's 6 or 9 months, Republicans can recover from that. If it is a longer pause, that could be problematic for the midterm elections.
And there we see the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, walking through Statuary Hall. We understand that she will make an address shortly, and she's going to actually use the lectern that was looted by that Florida man. You may have seen that man holding it and posing for the cameras. That man has since been arrested for defaming federal property, among other charges. The podium has been recovered, and we're told that Speaker Pelosi will speak from that shortly. It should be noted, too, the article of impeachment that has been affirmed by the House, 10 Republicans joining Democrats, charges President Trump with willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States. Another story we are following today is not only the security surrounding the U.S. Capitol, but our nation's Capitol leading up to the inauguration of Joe Biden. But we are also following reports and charges today that there may have been some members of Congress that helped those violent rioters who carried out the violence on Capitol Hill. That is part of the story that we are still investigating. Our impeachment coverage continues on our 24-hour streaming network, CBSN. You can watch it at cbsnews.com or on our CBS News app. There's going to be more on your local news on this CBS station. We're going to have a full wrap-up tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. Thank you for joining us. I'm Nora O'Donnell, CBS News, Washington.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com.
Genuinely evaluate this child with the proper resources. And it begins neurologically, in my opinion.
Yes.
And find out what his brain is telling him to do. And once we know what that is, then we can start taking some steps. And I think that you can find a path to recovery for this child once you find out what his brain's telling him to do. I would not at all hesitate to tell him that you're exactly right. You are adopted. I got you on purpose, and I'm glad you're my child. I'm not glad the way you're behaving. I don't like that at all, but I adopted you, and I did it on purpose. Right. I wanted you then, and I want you now, but I want you to want to be here, and I want you to behave yourself, and we're going to help you do that because I think you've lost your way, and we're going to help you do that.
Yes.